Hey y'all, this video is a warning. I'm going to tell you what the government's not going to tell you. I'm going to tell you why you should start getting food stored now. Hi, I'm Surrey and this is AV Prepping. So I'm going to explain to you why you should start getting your meat and putting it in your deep freezer. And if you can, it's imperative that you grow a garden next year if you like to eat vegetables. So last month I did a video on NPK, which is nitrogen, phosphate, and potassium. It's a widely used fertilizer. And I talked in that video about the price of fertilizer going up and how that's going to affect us at the grocery store. So I decided to do a little research. I was reading about fertilizers again, and it is worse than I could ever have imagined as fast as it got. So let's put aside the supply chain issue for a minute, and let's put aside the workers in the stores for a minute, the labor issue. So the problem right now is fertilizer. It takes a lot of energy to make the fertilizer. So here in America, when they make fertilizer, they use natural gas. In Europe, they use natural gas when they're making the fertilizer. The problem in Europe is they don't have a whole lot of natural gas. So the companies that are making fertilizers over in Europe, they're just closing their plants down. They don't have the workers and they can't afford to make the fertilizer. So that's going to be a huge issue over there. Here in this country, our gas prices, the fuel has gone up astronomically. So some of our companies are closing down, and in China they use coal, and there's a coal crunch right now. So the stuff we get from China is going to be very limited because they need to feed their population. So the fertilizer we make here, again, uses a lot of natural gas. It's expensive. So there's one facet to the problem with our fertilizer. The next problem is getting it to the farmers. So if the farmers can't afford to buy the normal amount of fertilizer they get, they're not going to be fertilizing as much of their fields. So normally what would happen is, and this is real common, at the end of your growing season, you buy your fuel or your fertilizer for next year. Well, a lot of farmers didn't do it this year because it was so expensive. They were hoping it would go down, and hopefully it will go down for all of our sakes. I don't see how that can happen, but hopefully it will or would happen, but it probably won't. So now if you have 100 acres, little itty bitty small farm, you have 100 acres and you have to fertilize it. And say you're growing corn. Corn takes about twice as much fertilizer as a lot of other crops. So instead of growing 100 acres of corn, you're going to cut it back to 25 to 50 acres of corn, depending on what you can afford. So now you're going to have a smaller amount of product going to the stores because the fertilizer is so expensive. I said in my NPK video, and there's a card on the NPK video, especially on cornfields, wheat, soybean, the soil's dead. If they can't fertilize it, it's not going to grow anything. It's not like us homesteader farmer or gardeners, basically, where we can go down to Home Depot, we can go to Lowe's, the garden center, or wherever, and get fertilizer, turn it into the soil and grow. Even if I didn't do that in my garden next year, I'd still be fine. I have my own mulch that I mulch pile, so I'll be fine. But these bigger companies, in order for the farmer to make a profit, he has to not grow as much, literally. So that's a problem right there. The other problem is when fields are harvested, a lot of times they'll put their harvested product into a big giant like warehouse, I guess you could call it, and they'll put heaters on with fans to dry it so the harvest doesn't get moldy. Again, natural gas. Again, expensive. It's not going to happen. So Right now, from the time I made that video to now, I think it's gone up another 40%, and it's at an all-time high right now. So at the end of last year, for a short ton of fertilizer, it would cost about $500. Right now, it's over $1,000. So the cost has doubled. That's going to affect us. The other problem is our truckers that have to get the product from the farm to the stores, they have to pay for fuel. Another supply chain issue. So that's going to cost more if they have the truckers to do it. You know, are there enough truckers right now to do all these things? It's going to be expensive. So let's segue over to the beef. You know, when a cow is birthed, it will stay at that farm probably till it's about 500 to 700 pounds. Then they'll ship it to a slaughterhouse in Oklahoma, Missouri, Kansas City. That's where all the big slaughterhouses are. Then they'll keep that animal for another, I guess, maybe year until it gets up to weight. Once they feed it, which, what do they feed the cattle with? Cereal grains. Think about that. Let that sink in. That's that corn that they're going to send to the feed the cattle at the slaughterhouses. Again, the cost has gone up for the corn, for the truckers to bring it to the slaughterhouses to feed the animals. It's just going to go up and up and up. I mean, every place I go, a ribeye steak is $15.99 a pound. You know, pre-pandemic, I was paying $10.99 for a really good ribeye at a local butcher. It's just going to go up. It's going to be astronomical. And the only way you can hedge against this is to, if you can, start buying the stuff now. If you have a deep freezer, there's one right back there, fill it full of meat. If you can do that, do it. Get your vegetables. Watch videos on YouTube how to can it. Learn to preserve your vegetables. Same thing with the meat. You can can your meat and it'll last years. And it'll taste delicious. It just really looks kind of funky, but the taste is fine. That way you have a protein, because these prices are going up, man. This is just out of control. And the government ain't saying shit about it. And I don't think they will say anything about it because they don't want anybody to go out and panic. At least in Russia and China, you know, the communists told their people, start storing food. Let's think about that. Because it's going to cost a whole hell of a lot more. Everywhere. Europe, China, Russia, everybody's having this energy crunch right now. And we're going to take the brunt of it. And our government ain't saying a doggone thing about getting prepared. Remember, if you start to be more self-reliant, don't listen to the talking heads up in Washington or wherever saying everything's going to be fine, you know. Move on. These aren't your droids. What's going on? They don't care about you. They don't care about me. Nothing. So here's a call to action. If you can go buy meat, go buy it. If you're a vegetarian or eat vegan and you have a deep freezer, go buy your stuff. Get it froze. If you can dehydrate things, if you can can things, do what you can, because this is going to be out of control. And it's going to it's going to affect all of us. You know, and they're going to keep pushing and worrying about the coronavirus and this pandemic and the other things, and they're not telling you what's really going on because they could really care less. As long as they get to stay in charge, stay in power, that's all that matters. And I don't care if you're Republican, Democrat, it's kind of the same to me right now. DC doesn't care. They're not going to put food on your table. They're not going to feed your kids. They're not going to put food in your belly. They're not going to heat your house up. These are things we have to do for ourselves, because this is out of control. Again, if you can get stuff, if you can afford it, do it. And according to some of the people in the Department of Energy and the FDA, hey, you have more money now, you can go buy these things, which is kind of BS because the prices of everything's gone up so much. So buy what you can afford, start storing stuff if you can, because it's on you and not anybody else. Sorry about the rant. I'm just really upset about this, and I want to get the word out. So thanks for taking the time, for watching this video. I really appreciate it. If you found this information useful, please hit the like button, share it with your friends, and leave a comment. Tell me what you think about it. Tell me if you think I'm full of it, or if you did a little bit of research and found what I said is true. I have a link in the description below from Illinois Farm, a farm journal or newspaper, and they address this. It's actually a person who wrote the articles from the Wall Street Journal that I just read. So please take the time. Don't just listen to me. Start reading. Start looking into this stuff. As our dollar gets more devalued, everything's going to cost more. Again, I'm done with the rant. Thanks for taking the time for watching this video. Please like it and share it with your friends. AV Prepping out.